to start by talking about how you first thought of it, or how is the very genesis of it.
Well, thanks. I mean, that's lovely of you to say. First of all, just can't believe I'm here hanging out with Guillermo del Toro. So we don't know each other. Well, I don't know if you remember this, but we met very briefly in an elevator going up at the Austin Television Festival. I think I was there with Orphan Black, and you were very lovely to me, by the way. You probably don't remember meeting me, but I was like, oh my God, he was so nice to me. Anyway, I'm such a huge fan, so I'm just, I need a moment to just fanboy for a second. So all these movies, Kronos and Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth, and, I know the other night you said, no one went to see Nightmare Alley. I loved Nightmare Alley. So, yeah, just a huge fan of your work, and very excited to be here. Thank you, by the way. I guess this movie was, probably simmering for quite a long time. My first feature film was kind of a coming-of-age thriller that no one really saw. And I think a good enough movie, but no one really sort of fell through the cracks and didn't really get noticed. So with this, I had been working on a lot of horror ideas. In fact, I had become a filmmaker because of my investment and my love for horror cinema, and probably I think I also used filmmaking and horror as a way to overcome my fear. I was like one of those kids that was afraid of everything. I was afraid of the dark. I was afraid of people. I was afraid of going out. I was really a scared little kid. And I think that I also became very significantly traumatized by a number of films that had this incredible power over me. And there were so many. There were a lot of weird ones like Killdozer and like Black Christmas and And I realized at some point, as my brain became more sophisticated, that these didn't just exist, that someone actually made them. And I found that the way to get beyond my fear was to understand how they were made. And so, you could imagine whatever scary moment from a movie, whatever like really freaks you out, like, I don't know, like Halloween, like the guy, Michael Myers stabbing the dude in the hallway, that was a set. There was a movie, there were lights, there was a boom mic, there was a camera, there was a whole bunch of people crowded around. It wasn't scary when they made it. And I think that was really something, when I really started to realize that was a really significant change. And horror films was a really big part of that. So I think this was kind of brewing. It was a long time coming. And because I had previously made a coming-of-age movie about some young boys, I had kind of turned my horror mind to working with girls. And I had a writer that I was really interested in. Karen Walton, I think, had a really incredible voice. And we both grew up in the horror of the suburbs. And it kind of started from there. I mean, I think I was interested in making a metamorphosis, transformation movie. I wasn't interested in making a werewolf movie. In fact, for the longest time, I kind of fought that. I didn't really... I liked the idea of like icky body horror, but I wasn't necessarily wanting to make a werewolf movie because I thought they were all cheesy. I hated all of them, except for maybe American Werewolf in London, which really became a touch point for, and all the movies you mentioned, Carrie, The Fly, Dead Ringers, Heavenly Creatures, Heathers was probably an influence in there. That was kind of the beginning. But it was always these two sisters. It was this story of this indelible, unbreakable bond between these two sisters growing up in the suburbs that were outcasts, that were outsiders and didn't belong and wouldn't conform, and lived in their own world, and that was kind of the beginning of the. It was very character first, and then the concept of a metamorphosis, and then eventually it was like, oh my god, I guess we're making a werewolf movie, and then after that, the other layers began to reveal themselves. The metaphor, the lunar cycles, the menstrual cycles, all of that biological icky fun that we had began to reveal itself. So, but I think in the beginning, Guillermo, it was really about those two girls, and it was about that journey that we wanted to take them, just to torture them and try and pull them apart and bring them back together. And, it still gets me, the end of the movie, seeing that as we kind of, pan down the girl's art that says forever, and with Bridget crying, it's still very moving.
Yeah, that's the thing.